There we go. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of different pieces that I go through. If you ask a question about something that is going to be coming up, I'm going to just kind of ignore it. And then Neil and David, I'll ask that you kind of keep track of those and then bring them up as I get to them. Because I am going to be sharing my screen. I'm not going to be watching chat too much. So Neil and David, I'm going to be relying on you guys to handle that. All right, so we're going to look at the Voces version 4 that's going to be coming out. The goal is July 16th. Could be a little bit earlier, could be a little bit later, all depending on how things go the next 6 weeks. So what I'm going to be showing you, there are things that could still change a little bit, whether it's visually or there might be some of the features that we're still working on. So just know this is a work in progress, but a very polished work in progress. We've put a lot of time into these changes. It is going to be a multi-year update. It was too much to roll everything out in 1 year. So this year is really focused on getting the dashboard up and running, the whole new user interface, and then largely on editing and really customizing the titles, making that easier, bringing it to the forefront. Next year, we'll be looking more at assigning, grading, class management, and trying to update a lot of that. Voces has been around for about 15 years now. And version 3, I was kind of trying to figure it out, has really been around since 2016. And every time we've added a new feature, changed something, it's kind of been stacking it on top. So we've got version 3 is basically this house of cards, where we keep stacking other cards on it. So for version 4, we started from the ground up and rebuilt everything. All of the content that you're familiar with is still there, but all of the code behind it is so much cleaner, easier for us to work with, and way more adaptable for us. I will answer Amy's question right now. Nuestra's story has been around since 2017. I think we launched level 1. We started working on it in 2016. Prior to that, it was grammar-based. Introductory Spanish was the first one that launched in 2010 in Flash. I was a Flash developer at that point. And so it was an actual flip book. Every page was just an image that I had to put individual audio buttons on in the exact spot that the words were in the picture. It was terrible. So we've come a long way. So one other thing that is changing this year is the way we connect to Google. Google is going to be going direct instead of through EdLink, which means that we'll have instant rosters. Everything will work a little more, I guess, as we expect with Google, kind of the way it used to work. If you've been around for a few years, you know when we made the change about 2 years ago, things started having weird delays. So if you do use Google Classroom, I'll be sending out an email to all of those teachers, letting you know what the admins are going to have to do to get that connected up in the fall. All right, so let's start sharing my screen. All right, so we will log in. So this is the new dashboard. We'll be bringing a lot more into this with next year's updates, but this is kind of the first start. So we've got our recent books over here, which is your full library, sorted by the books that you've gone into most recently. So if you've got titles that you don't use a lot, those are going to kind of fall to the back. You can still see them with view all, but those ones that you're in every day, they're going to be right here. All of your other available books are going to be down here. Clicking on those will add them to your library, the same as they do in the dashboard now. We've got a notifications area that's going to let us kind of update you with things as we add them without having to send an email every time. We've also got a class list here, so you can see each book in your account and expand it to see your classes and which students are in each class, printing their ID cards all kind of from one spot, so you can very easily see which books you have which students in. We've got search that we've brought into the dashboard before you even log in, so you can search for something here and then go right into, there'll be the list. You can click on that to go into the book you want, as opposed to having to go into the book and then search. We've also got account settings, so any of your kind of general account settings that apply to all of your titles, those are going to be here. So you're not having to change these and set them up in every one of your titles as you were at the moment. All right, those are the notes I had for the dashboard, but I saw chat lighting up a little bit. Neil, do I have any questions to answer before I jump into a title? I tend to talk quickly
So we have a
during
couple.
these.
There's any chance there will be integrations for Brightspace in addition to Google Classroom? You can answer that.
Potentially send me an email and I can look to see if that's one that EdLink lets us link up through.
Can I
And I'm
just
going to put his email in the chat.
Can I ask, the class list on the left, is that all the classes you're teaching? Because it looks like a lot of different.
Well,
That
so
will look like that for you. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
it'll show all of your titles, and then if you expand it, it'll show your classes. I have every book in my account. Yours will not look like this. It'll just be, if you've got 3 titles, it'll just be those 3 titles. All your class management is still happening from within the title. And we might, Neil, make a note. We might want to hide the classes
I
if
was
they
just
the book
thinking that
hide
if
the
there's
book if it has no.
no classes,
Yep.
hide the book. Yep.
Yep. We might also just brainstorm randomly during this. It's
And
what we
on that
do.
note, I do just want to say if while Chris is going through this, if you have suggestions, just put them in the chat and I'll take note of all of them and add them to our document that we're keeping.
And I did already warn a lot of people that you have been working on this since I last touched it this afternoon. So anything that's not working is your
It's
fault.
my
Neil.
fault.
Yep. All right. So we're going to jump into Nuestra Historia 2, because that happens to be the one that I started all of this in, and I'm most confident in its success at this point. So here is the new user interface. Still familiar to those of you that have been using Voces for a long time, but you can see where some things have changed. We've cleaned up the top bars and actually split them into 2. So we've got kind of our universal top bar, and then our book specific top bar. Teachers panel is still right there, all the same options. Same with tools. Print works significantly better than it does now because of the way we've rebuilt it. So you should be able to print any page and have it come out in a reasonable number of pages and not 1 question per page or whatever ridiculousness you're running into with the current print solutions. Looking at my notes. So when you see me look this way, those are my notes over there. So like I mentioned earlier, Game Center assignments, those are exactly the same as they have been. Same with grading, class management, all of that is brought directly over and still looks very similar. Our navigation for our titles is this icon over on the left side. So that's how we're getting into our directory view, which looks more like the traditional table of contents. Able to expand and all of that in there. So as I mentioned before, one of the things we really wanted to do here is bring editing to the forefront. In the current version of Voces, you're going into the menu editor and then clicking a few more deep to get into page editor. So our hope is that we can really make that a more accessible feature so that any teacher feels comfortable going in and turning off a story, rearranging things, adding their own content to it, and really making it fit what they need, what their students need. So for the menu, if I want to edit it, let's say I want to rearrange it. I'm actually going to do Unit 2 before I do Unit 1. So I hit Edit Menu here, and now all of my editing controls appear right here. So if I want Unit 2 first, we just do that. And if I hit Save, there it is. There is my rearranged menu. While editing, I've got access to all of the options that are currently in the menu editor, adding pages, adding new subsections, making things teacher only. They're all right here with one menu instead of having multiple menus in multiple spots. If I decide I want to add a new page, and we'll add it into the top section so I can keep all of this together. Add a page. I can start with a blank page like we do now, add a previously created page that has come unlinked. Maybe we did a reset, or I can import a page. And this feature is we've got importing pages and we've got importing sections. And this is going to let you really bring multiple titles together. So I'm going to click on this and cross my fingers while I do it. So let's just say there's something in Voces Por el Mundo 1 that I want my Nuestra Historia 2 students to see. I could assign them both books and have them jump back and forth, or I can come in here and let's just say it is the alphabet. And I take a look, okay, that page looks good to me. Let's import this page. There it is. If we save and close. So it brought all of our content over, not the right vocab words. Neil's going to make a note of that.
What?
The right vocab words didn't come over on that import. Glad we got that out of the way early. So all of the content comes over, and now this book is part of your Nuestra Historia too. If you want more than just a single page, say you want an entire story from level 1, we have the option to add a subsection, import a section, and we can come in here to Nuestra Historia 1. No, my menu's weird. We're going with 3. And let's say I want this story. Now I've got this entire story in my Nuestra Historia 2 menu. And if I want to add a blank page, because we're going to use it for an example in just a second, I'm just going to add a page, blank page. This is my example page. And now that's here as well. So that is the new directory. I once again saw chat lighting up. Neil, what do you have for me?
I think we're all good.
Okay, cool. So let's go to this page and let's look at editing a page. this is the page I just created. It's not very useful yet. You'll notice we got rid of the give it a page title that doesn't really show up anywhere. The name you give it in the menu is the name of the page. If I want to edit this page, I click down in the bottom right corner. I've got my edit icon. So I click that and we've switched into editing mode. If I save, that's going to take me back out. So we'll add a block. And we've got all of our different question options right here. So let's just add some content. I can make it teacher only. I can apply some of the special styling. Again, all of the same options that you're used to. So this is my content. Save. And I just keep adding different block types. So I'm doing a multi-line text question type to show another cool feature that we've added. So we'll do that, save the page, and here it is. Switching back and forth in between editing and viewing the page is very seamless. You're not going to a bunch of different places. Our multi-line text, instead of just being a plain text, is now something that students can format when they're in here. So they can bold words, italicizing, adding a table if they wanted to, multiple paragraphs. It really gives them the ability to create more full responses and more, I guess, easier to read responses. The same works when I'm editing a page. So if I go back to, let's go somewhere in here. Let's go to not that kind of page. All right, multiple choice. So I hit edit and it just switches into editing mode. So I can come in here, I can edit any of the questions. There's my correct answer. Here's some incorrects. This one's auto grading. From here, we can rearrange our questions as well, or we can remove them if we want. And when I save, it's going to renumber based on the new question order. We can also import individual blocks. So I'm going to go back to my example page here. Let's go here and let's just say I want something for Ecuador. So I can look at this page and just pick individual blocks that I might want. So I'm just going to grab these pictures, import, and we have those here now. So you can take an entire unit, you can take a page, or you can take just a piece of a page and really move everything together. All right, any questions on this so far? Nothing, Neil?
No, I
I
think
see
we're good.
All
Or
right.
one
go
that
ahead,
just
David. David, what do you
came
got?
up, asking if we have any plans to make a way to quickly import questions from other sources. So something like importing via
CVS or a doc
yeah.
file. Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet. it,
I'm gonna take a note on
yeah,
that.
take a
We'll think
note.
about that.
It might be doable. Um, I'm thinking that the the thought behind that is if you've got like 50 questions that are all multiple
Mhm.
choice sort of scenario, um, where that would be significantly faster than copying and pasting. The quick end or the text entry
Yeah,
types.
that Tim said that's exactly what he's talking about. So
Okay. Yeah. With the new way this is
and I
set
mean,
up,
yeah,
that
if
might
we
be easy
don't
to
do
do.
that now, I think we could find a way to do it
Yeah.
next year
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
So great idea, Tim. Thanks.
Um, yeah, we've gone through and cleaned up some of the other activity types as well. I haven't looked at it lately. We've got our interactive videos, uh, which are kind of like the Ed puzzle style, where they'll hit certain points, and that will then prompt them with a question. Um, we've added some additional controls to allow you to disable captioning and speed controls if you desire. We're largely to the end of my notes, Neil. What am I missing? Hover overs are a little
Hoverovers are
more,
so back. They're back for sure.
so they kind of turned into hover afters for a
Yeah.
little while. And now they're back to being hover overs again.
How does that affect printing them? Because I know when I want to print it, I click on display all.
Yep. So
Yeah,
there is
we'll
still the
still have that.
display all, which we'll show them after. We can just have kind of both in place. So if you're printing, you'll show them all. And that'll make sure they show up in print.
And then if I want to edit this page, could I to add more translations in parentheses? How would I do that? Can you show us?
I can't because Neil discovered today that that is one of the things that is not working in
You will
our,
be able to do
yes.
that though. When this
So
is finalized, it'll be
it would be here, and then we would go into edit the story, and I would highlight that word and click my text pop over. And it would give you another box as opposed to just making that disappear. That is one of those things that Neil broke.
no, that never worked in the first place. That will be something you'll be able to do once V4
Yeah.
launches, though. It will have that functionality.
And will there be a training on how to edit things in Voces, like once this all gets finalized?
Yes, yes. We're gonna do, Kelsey put some notes in my notes. We're going to have another webinar like this in early August. There is also going to be a dedicated session for editing during the summer workshop, which is the last week of July. David, if you want to put the link to that in. And then once you get started, if you happen to miss the webinars, we will have videos on all of this. And there's always the option to jump in a walkthrough, and we can help you get started with editing. All right, I see Susan raised her hand.
Yeah, I have a question. Looking at the picture you have right now, or that page,
Yeah.
when I go to hit print, it is not user friendly, and it
Oh,
totally has
that-
those
yeah.
big, huge pictures that I have one kid who had his iPad taken away, and it would take me cutting and pasting for 20 minutes before I could print out assignments.
So I don't know if this is going to show up, and I don't know how it's going to look. Neil warned me not to click this button.
Yeah.
So can you see the print dialog?
Yes, we can. So I
So-
specifically added in a lot of, I mean, printing web pages is never a perfect science. There's things you have to account for, breakpoints, certain elements that are larger than a normal printer page. This is still a work in progress. I expect it to be hopefully even better than this when V4 launches. But I mean, I took a lot of feedback we've gotten over the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, specifically about printing. And a lot of those issues should be gone.
Well,
when
that
this
one's
rolls
better
out.
than it
Yeah.
was right
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
It's better than it was because it would take up
Things
a whole
won't get
page
cut
for one
off.
picture.
You're not going to have
Yeah.
pictures taking up a whole page. You're not going to have
Okay.
random. I mean, I don't remember who, someone asked if teacher notes will show up when printing. No, they won't. Yeah, things will be ideally properly sized and
Okay.
correct breakpoints, and you're not going to have an image cut into, between two
Halfway through.
pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
And one thing I just noticed that I forgot to even put in my notes. So our vocab is the same as it was plus a little bit. So we've got click on this to hear the audio. We've also got this show details option with everyone. And if we click on that, it's going to bring up I guess a deeper dive. Some of them we have images for. We happen to have one for this one, but they can also play the audio here. And from here, they'll have the speed controls to go with it. So they can change the audio speeds for vocab and get a little more detail about it. Or you can always add additional details just to give students a little bit more control there.
Just a couple of questions that I've seen go through and we've not quite hit on yet. Or at least I didn't hear. First, somebody asked, hey, just to make sure, any changes that we've already made when version 4 goes live, they're going to still be there?
Yes, they will. Yes, everything is coming over. Everything you've done, the hours and days and weeks you've spent editing your titles will not be lost.
Another quick question. Somebody was saying, hey, if I make these changes, I'm not seeing the go back button yet. How do we access the original version of a page?
So the original page will still be available when I go to add a page, my unlinked ones, we've got a bunch of, I don't know if these are showing up or not, of the Voces originals, anything that has been changed or added since you last edited the menu, those will show up there. Need a cancel button there. I do need to add in a button for revert to original. We're also setting up a way where we can store a log of the changes that are made. So maybe you don't want to go all the way back to the original, but you do want to change one of the questions back. You'll be able to see what changes you made to those questions to be able to make that change back. And I got a clap from David, so guessing I answered that one well. Yeah, I'll definitely make sure that the revert is
Yeah,
back.
I like that a lot. I'm gonna make a note for that.
I've got chat open now. Tim asked about the games. So I touched on this a little bit. We're not doing anything with the games this summer. It's kind of a stretch goal for next summer. And if we get to it, that'll be great. If not, then the following summer will basically be summer of games, where that will be our really sole focus, is updating and improving all of the games we've got. I've already got some ideas. I'm sure Neil does as well for styling changes and new games, and we'll probably have a call for feedback when we get to that point, once we start looking at them, to see what's working, what's not working. Susan, you know that all of the Voces vocab and structure sets are on Blooket, correct?
Yes, that's why they liked him so
Okay.
much. We did so many of the different versions and they love it.
Yeah, the Blooket guys did a great job with that site.
Yep. And I have a question real quick on Schoology. You say we can log in on Google. Is it still going to have the same
Yep.
thing where, okay,
Schoology, Canvas, and Microsoft Teams are still the same.
great.
Yes, Amanda, I can repeat that. So this here, the edits, the changes really are the adding in the dashboard, changing the overall user interface, and then most of the functionality changes are revolving around editing. The menu editor, page editing, and then a lot of the little things that go along with that. Next year, we're going to be revisiting assignments, grading, class management, and focusing on improving how those function. Probably bring them a lot more in line with everything else. But we've been so busy thinking about this one, I haven't thought that much about those other ones. I've got some ideas already, though. And one thing, it seems very minor, but then when I showed Kelsey, she thought it was a huge thing. We've always had this
Yeah,
next
she was
page
freaking
previous
out.
page button at the bottom that, for whatever reason, I had stop at the end of, excuse me for 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. So yeah, for whatever reason, they stopped at the end of a unit, a folder, and wouldn't go to the next one. So now they just keep going from the start of the book all the way to the end of the book. You can just hit next page and previous page. We're not looking at zombie pictures right now. Emmy was in here for one of the webinars we had with the author a few months ago, and she absolutely loved the zombie book and still talks about it to this day. And her solution for if there are zombies is to get maple syrup, because that's what they do in the book.
We got a couple of questions. So Tim asked, yes, my school is getting Blackbaud next year. Will it work the same as with Schoology?
Blackboard
No.
I need to look at.
Okay.
So we don't currently link up with Blackbaud, but I've heard that it is in EdLink.
Okay.
But it's in there a little bit different. So I need to connect with somebody who is currently using it to test it out and see if we can add that in smoothly.
So maybe, or that wasn't Tim, that was Teresa. Maybe contact us once
Yeah.
your school switches next year. Maybe that could be like a next summer update thing that we do.
It should be a
or-
quick one if
Okay.
it's set up
Yeah.
right. They're the way that I'm thinking.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to help us like test that and be, a use case for it, that would be great. We got from Tim, have any stories been changed within the units? I don't think so.
There might be a couple. That is a great Erica question, and Erica is not here.
David held up a finger though, so I think maybe he knows an
He might
answer to
have a
that.
list of the
Yeah.
updates. I've kind of had my
We're just
head
the
in the
programmers. We don't
sand
know what's
with
going
this
on with that.
programming update.
Yeah. And another content question, will there be any updates to content in New Esther Story 1?
I
Another
do
good
have a
Erica
list, but I'm
question.
not seeing it at the
Yeah.
moment. So email us at
Yeah.
info@vocesdigital.com, and we're happy to answer that one for you.
Yeah, any you got the worst team of
Oh,
people to answer content
Justin's in chat.
questions.
Justin's in chat. It's good.
Oh boy.
Justin, jump on your video. This is now your webinar.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm just gonna keep typing using audio only because of pets and all kinds of stuff going on here. I can say, and I can repeat this in the chat as well, the PQA questions, which someone asked about, are probably the content item that's getting the most major overhaul. Many chapters for multiple books are having units for multiple books are having basically all the PQA sections updated, partly for the reason that that you mentioned, which is that there are outdated references to celebrities and things like that, partly to keep them sort of snappier. A lot of the PQA slideshows, as you may know right now, are kind of still vocab presentation and lots of example sentences. And so we're shifting them to make them more truly PQA. In other words, actually interesting questions that students can give their opinion on, and that the teachers can use to generate more interesting conversation. So the PQA personalized question and answer, that's preguntas personales is the section name in the Spanish, question personnelle in the French, domande personale in the Italian, and persönliche Fragen in the German. So that if you're looking for the exact page title, those are getting an overhaul. The stories are remaining largely unchanged because we made a number of story changes last summer. There is one story, and I can share details about offline, that we're probably going to change because that's in level 4 of Nuestra Historia, because the content is just super heavy, more than we probably want there. And there are and will continue to be some pretty heavy stories because some heavy issues are important. But there's one in particular that's there's probably more than what to kind of take on with high school students. And so we're leaning towards replacing that with a story by an author, either from the same country or from one of the other countries that fits in with the units, or excuse me, with that unit that it's from.
PQAs are still focused
exactly.
on,
So
yeah.
that your follow-up question about the PQA, that's it exactly. So it will still, the questions will still be sort of questions about students' opinions or experiences, but that use vocab and constructions. That's the key vocab in the vocabulario importante or vocabulaire important page that precedes. So in that sense, it will still fulfill the same role. But as you may have seen, depending on the language and the unit and the story, hitherto some of the PQA slideshows, a lot of when I've gone to use them as a teacher, I said, wait a minute, some of this is just kind of example sentences with these words. That's handy, but it's not really PQA. And some of the questions are not really personalized. They include questions like, do you have a pencil, or things like that, that aren't that are more language practice, which again can be fine, but that's not the point of PQA. Point of PQA is really to generate buy-in and to give students lots of narrow exposure to the specific constructions that are most relevant. So yes, Darlene, absolutely. It's mostly my colleague Erica Poplinsky-Burge for the Spanish, and Hannah Meineke for the French, and the rest of us kind of collaborating on some of those things. So yeah, I'm with you, Tim. As someone who PQA as a teacher is kind of my bread and butter, both in the sense that I feel like I'm good at coming up with actually interesting questions, and I really enjoy that kind of phase of class. So I'm glad that we're going to become even more true to those purposes of engaging students and providing lots of opportunities for them to share their opinions with each other using that key vocab. A little long-winded maybe, but hope that's a helpful answer.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Justin.
Yes, Tim, that is going to be ready. That's going to roll out around the same time as this version 4. So it'll, in July, he'll have time to use it for prep even.
Yeah, the goal with the version 4, as I did mention earlier, is July 16th. And I think Erica was talking about the same within a window of that time frame for the other updates as well. One other thing that we added in last week that might be of interest to some teachers in larger districts is we do have a way now to kind of change the default menu. So we've got a teacher who has gone through and made changes to, I think it's Spanish 1, to really align it with their district's requirements, what they're supposed to teach in which order to kind of line stuff up. And in the past, we've had a couple teachers that have done that, and I've had to manually kind of go in and copy stuff from one teacher to another, or the teachers have to share. But now we've got it set up where if you've got that teacher who has created a customized curriculum for your district, we can set their title as your kind of baseline for your other teachers, so that that's what they're starting at, and they can still go in and customize it, but they're all starting from that same spot. So that might be something helpful for some of the larger districts that really want to customize this more. EQAs in Spanish novice.
I think no is the answer to that, because I don't think we're updating
Well,
novice
it
anymore.
would be Plural Mundo
Plural
1.
Mundo 1, yeah.
Does this one have PQAs?
David's shaking his head, so I think that's a no.
Hold on.
No.
I got to switch to Spanish. My Spanish is slightly better than my French, and my Spanish isn't good.
But your JavaScript is great.
Thank you, Neil.
Oh.
No, I don't see anything that looks like PQA here. So I believe that is a Nuestra Historia, Notre Histoire thing. But as I showed, it's very easy to bring content from one to the other. And again, really, we changed it a couple of years ago. We changed it so that anybody who has access to all of our titles. So if you've got Plural Mundo 1, then you've also got Nuestra Historia 1. And maybe one of those isn't exactly what you need, but you can merge the two together to make it really fit what you need for your students. I thought I saw that too, Andrea, but I wasn't sure because it was in French.
But yeah, in the past.
Personnel, and the question personnel is a page type in the French Notre Histoire curriculum, all 4 levels.
PQA.
So it is in there, and does apply for the comments that I was making about PQA. In the introductory Spanish title, and in some of the other ones that are not in any of the Our Story series, so Nuestra Historia, Notre Histoire, Nostra Historia, and Unsere Geschichten are the 4 languages that we have the Our Story titles for. The other titles don't have an actual page that's called personal questions the way the Our Story titles do. But what's, from a teaching perspective, what's nice is that page and those questions are unlikely to be something that you would to be content that students are just consuming anyway. There'd be questions that teachers pose to the class, which means that, kind of like Chris was saying, you can use, even while you're in the introductory Spanish title or in any of the French titles or anything like that, you can use the search tool that's there. You can type in a word that applies to a subject, what the topic or theme that you're dealing with. It will give you search results from the other titles, the other books as well. And so you can select one that's from one of the mainly story-based series, like the Nuestra Historia and Notre Histoire, and you can go to the pertinent personalized question and answer page and either copy it to the title you're using, the way that Chris demonstrated at the top of this presentation, or just note down for yourself what those questions are, choose the ones that you like. All those pages also have a downloadable PDF teacher guide for those questions and follow-up questions you can ask. So given that, again, those aren't really things that students really consume, they don't consume those questions, they're questions that teachers pose to the class, you can go to any of those personalized question pages, download the PDF that's basically a script for you to ask those questions and follow-up questions, and use those to generate class discussion regardless of what main title you're using.
Thanks again, Justin. I
Tim,
strive to one day be
I
able
do
to
want to respond to
pronounce.
Tim real quick.
Yeah, I will.
Tim, yeah.
I
Oh, go
just
ahead.
want to say that one
Yeah,
day
Finish praising me first.
my goal is to be able to pronounce our titles as well as Justin does. No other words in there,
Yep.
just the titles. If I could hit that, I'd be happy. Correct, Tim. They can't cut and paste or drag and drop. They're
I
going to
just
find a
did
new
that
way.
today. Yeah.
And then we're going to stop the new way. It has been a game of cat and mouse for 15 years to get them not to be able to spend 3 hours doing something that they only had to study 10 minutes to figure out. So we were on a page with a rubric, which reminded me of another thing, and Paul is asking a similar question to it. For those of you that have edited rubrics in Voces now, you know how cumbersome and unintuitive that is. So here is the new rubric editing. I edit a page that has a rubric on it, the same that I would if I wanted to edit any of the content. And I come down here and I just click on whichever ones I want to change, and I change them. And then I hit save. And then I click on any other ones. And when I save the page, that's going to save the whole thing. I can add more rows, add columns, save it to reuse on other pages, all from right here, instead of, again, having to go into another spot that didn't necessarily make sense as to where it was. And as far as if there are core ones that we have that are incorrect, they definitely should be edited. And that is something I will mention to Erica to have those checked over. And yes, it would be very easy to come in here and remove a couple of the rows. If I just delete we should just add a button. But if I delete the title, I think it removes the whole row. Correct, Darlene. You will not have to share with yourself to get pages from one book to another. That always kind of bothered me that was the solution, but that was what we had to work with. So now you're just going to go and import, and it's going to bring it over, and there it is.
Student view of the rubric once it's graded, that's going to most likely be the same. Like, it's obviously going to look visually like this.
So what I'm doing with that, and I don't think I have an example to show, but what it will do is it will have the it will show them their summary up at the top. The same it does now. And then down on the rubric, it's going to highlight the individual boxes based on how you graded it. So they'll be able to look and see exactly what they got, what they could have done for a 4, and so on. Yes, Lisa, the calculations are updated based on how many rows. Ruth, if you email info@vocesdigital.com, I don't remember if they put a certificate together for this or not, but if you email somebody, will be able to let you know. Tim has been asking questions the whole time, but now has his hand up. I'm curious to know what he has to say. Go ahead, Tim.
I just have lots of thoughts on things.
Yeah, they're
One of the
welcomed.
things, and you and I have talked about this before, when students finish an assignment that is, and I'm getting on here because it's just easier to explain it this way. When students are doing an assignment and they finish it, it tells them, and if I've marked it as teacher grade later, like they can't see their answers yet, but it still tells them that they got like 4 out of 20 right, because it's counting anything that was marked right on its own, like tough graded. I don't want the kids to see anything, because they go into panic mode when they see that number, and then they start asking me questions. What, are you going to grade this? Are you going to grade this? Is that going to get wiped out?
Yes. So I was working most of the day today on the assignment, what they see when they do an assignment, that pop-up box, the how it responds afterwards. One of the things we've tried to reduce here is the number of times the pages refresh. You shouldn't have to refresh your page at any point other than when making changes in the account. There'll be a prompt telling you to refresh to apply some of the settings. But as it is right now in version 3, when the students submit a page, then it refreshes. Instead, we're just taking that submission and applying it without a reload. So that gives us a little bit better control over what they see on the page. And I will make sure to look at, when it's a mixed page, some auto-graded, some teacher-graded, that the students aren't seeing those scores.
I just added a note for that.
Perfect.
So,
As far as how calculations in a rubric are made, it's all done on a base 60 scale. So if they've got all ones, it's always kind of confused me.
Well, I thought it was all
somebody-
1s are 60%,
Yes,
all 4s are
yes.
100%, and everything in between is weighed mathematically.
based on how many
on
rows and
the
columns
numbers,
there
yeah.
are. Yes. Somebody smarter than me came up with it. And I fielded a lot of questions with it. It is something that for next year, as we're looking at grading, we may look at how the rubrics are done, allowing teachers to kind of change some of those formulas if they wanted. But that's not something for this year, because the thought of it alone is giving me a little bit of anxiety. Darlene. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're addressing. Once they've submitted, they should be able to go right to that next page without needing to refresh anything. All of the boxes should be weighed the same, but if you've got an example of of that, Pamela, definitely send us an email, myself, or you can send it to info at, and they'll make sure it gets to me. So we can look at that specific thing and try and figure out what's going on.
And Haley, just a follow-up question. Are you saying you would like to weigh the different rows at different point values?
No, she's just talking about visibility, I think. So
Okay.
something like
Oh,
that,
no,
right?
I think I was right. Yeah, I mean, we've
Okay.
had
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of input on rubrics from a lot of different people. So I guess if you have ideas and like your school has a standard for rubrics, please just email us. I think that would be something that would be fun to like generalize and also make customizable for each like use case at every school.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things we'll definitely add some additional controls to. With
And like
everything
have a
else being,
generalized one, but
yep,
also enable like certain or like users to
yeah.
make it
Say
specific to their situation.
the same way that we've got a standard content, but everything can be customized. The rubric should be the same way. Um,
I just
I need
never
to look
thought
and
about
that.
point
see.
weighing on the rows. That never even like clicked with me. So
I need to look and see what the actual rubrics look like. There should be able to be applied. Thanks for being here, Susan, and I'm sure, I mean, we're almost at time. Uh, so I'm sure, oh, she is getting way too big. Oh, you got to stand up a
Uh,
little bit.
One quick question or suggestion on the rubrics, as I know that I've gotten that question also a number of times. A lot of times what comes up is teachers are either saying, hey, let me customize how many points each of the categories are worth, or they're asking, why are there points here? This is a rubric. So you might want to make it so that the default is like high, mid, low, or something to that effect instead of point values, and then you can set it to points as an option, and then when you're setting it to points you can customize how many points it's worth.
that's interesting to think about, and I would like to talk to you more
Yeah.
about that. I mean, because you obviously like hear from teachers about like rubrics and like requests and stuff like that more than we do. So yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk tomorrow.
When we start in
Yeah.
on that, no, not tomorrow, because we're not
Not
diving into
tomorrow.
changing
We're
how
not doing
rubrics work
rubrics tomorrow.
tomorrow. Neil's making more work for us. But yeah, when we're looking at grading and the way rubrics function for next summer, we will definitely make some changes there.
And again, everyone, like we're excited to show you all the new stuff we have going on. This is like there's going to be some changes still. There's going to be some fixes. Uh, it's it's only going to get better from here.
And
So yeah,
chances are we'll still be making some adjustments and
yeah,
fixes. I mean, we're
yeah,
15 years in and we're still making them to version 3, I guess
and
10 years into version 3. So
this is a big update. We throughout the year do small updates. I mean, I want to say daily, weekly.
it
We're
feels
fixing
like
stuff
it
all the
feels
time.
like
It
it.
feels like daily. So this isn't going to be like a one-off and then we're going to be done with you. Any suggestions, still send it our way. If it's something small, we can, take care of just as like a,
Um,
quality of life improvement.
and
Yeah.
if anybody is basically wrapped up with school but still plans on being in Voces, or if you've got summer students, first off, if you've got summer students, let me know. I want to make sure and communicate the
Yeah.
update with
Yep.
you. If you're still playing around in Voces a little bit and want to test out some of the version 4, email me, Neil, if you can pop my email in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would like to give a couple of teachers earlier access, because sometimes you guys see things that Even David doesn't, and David is very thorough.
Very thorough. So yeah, any ideas, like if you want to like be an early tester while understanding that it's also a work in progress up until we release in mid-July, just shoot us an email. That'd be great. I mean, the more people we have testing it, the more actual teachers using it and giving us suggestions and like things that we need to fix before it, you all go back to school late summer. It's great.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording. Stop my screen share. Stop recording. There it is.